G'day there guys, it's Connor here again from Marquee Industries. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm reading some more Reddit stories for you today, so sit back, relax and enjoy. Cheers. Alrighty folks, we're on Am I the A-Hole? This one was written by user FewSetting and it's titled Am I the A-Hole for leaving my sister's wedding early after her maid-of-honour humiliated me in her speech? I, 27 female, was a bridesmaid at my older sister's wedding last week. The wedding was beautiful and everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid-of-honour, who has been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but then she made a joke about how I was the family screw-up who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid duties. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny. For context, I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health and dropped out of college for a while. I've since gotten my life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all our family and friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend and I never really got along, but still I never expected something like this from her. Especially since the day wasn't about me at all, then why bring me up in the speech? I tried to stay composed, but I felt the tears coming, so I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said it was just a joke, and she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't, and I ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I do feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I had the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Edit, I said nothing at the moment because I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day, and I can't reason with her right now because she'll just ask me if I haven't been taking my meds lately. That's what she does when she's angry with me, so I'm giving her some time to maybe realise how her best friend's joke was out of line. Edit 2. Someone asked me if my sister's best friend and I argued before, and did I give her a reason to do this. My sister's best friend and I never went past high. She told me before, a few years ago, that she, in general, doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally, because in her head, God only knows what they're capable of. Since she said this, and to this day, I just try to avoid her. What on earth? What, you can't have mental health problems now? What's wrong with this woman? If just going through a tough time is a good reason to be ostracised, then geez, we've gone downhill, haven't we? Unless Opie's not telling the full story here. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. From the way you describe your sister's reaction, her BFF feels free to belittle you because your sister always goes along with it. I wouldn't be surprised if her maid-of-honour ran that joke by your sister for approval beforehand. If your sister considers insulting you in public setting like that to be a joke, you could bet money that they've shared similar jokes between them before. The shots about taking your meds shows sis doesn't have a lot of empathy for your situation or respect for you as a person. I don't see her apologising if that's the case. I could be wrong in my suspicions, but everything you describe tells me I'm not. Not the a-hole. No one wants to be the butt of a joke, and the friend should have run the speech by your sister prior. Very poor taste. Not the a-hole, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. Mocking someone's mental health is bullcrap in any circumstance, but in front of their whole group of family and friends, just frickin' despicable. Quote, she will just ask me if I've been skipping on my meds. Your sister sounds like she isn't a whole lot better than her a-hole friend. Not the a-hole. Maid-of-honour was being a mean girl. Her point was to be a B, and she was. Her speech should have been about the couple who just got married. There was no reason to bring you into her speech at all, except to be mean. Maid-of-honour should be ashamed of herself, as she is the a-hole here. Your sister not seeing this and her words to you also make her an a-hole. I'm sorry your sister was crappy to you. Maybe show her this thread. Opie replies, this is what I tried to tell my sister. I thought about it again, but I still can't seem to find a reason for her bringing me into her speech. And one comment says, you're the a-hole. I bet there's another side of this story. Opie says, every story has another side. What am I supposed to do about that? Call my sister and ask her if her best friend is up for posting about her side? You think I posted on Reddit for advice without putting myself out there? Then what's the point? Yeah, okay, onto an update 1 week later. Hi, thanks to everyone who took the time to comment on my post and gave their opinions and advice without being too harsh. I apologise if my update is messy or confusing. I'll try to cover everything, but I don't know when to add context for clarification. If you think there's any missing info or some parts are confusing, let me know. The same day I posted, my dad called to check up on me and see if my sister and I had talked things out. When I told him no, he said it's better if we talk about it now and assured me that I have nothing to apologize for. If my sister thinks that she has nothing to apologize for, then the least she can do is make her best friend apologize or fully realize that the joke was out of line. By the way, my brother and I met 4 days ago, and he told me that brother-in-law, my sister's husband, didn't like the way the maid-of-honour called me a screw-up in front of everyone, and some of those who laughed voiced later that they did so out of nervousness. On Monday, my sister called me to talk. When I made it to her place, her best friend was on the phone and didn't put it down for a second. My sister started by saying that just a few years ago I would have laughed hard and not taken the joke as an insult. I told her maybe some laughed because they don't know the reason she called me a screw-up. For context, when I was 16, something happened, and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 and 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair and the back of my head and neck. My sister knows everything. During our conversation, my sister did most of the talking. At some point, I felt like my sister had called me just to blame me again, without trying to understand my perspective. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me towards her with each sentence, as if to say, "Do you understand?" or "Okay?" I hated it and felt irritated. I honestly kept thinking if I pushed her away, would I be in the wrong? Would they just call me mental and tell family I got physical? I tried to leave, but she insisted that no one was leaving until we sort this out. She told her best friend to just apologize. She refused and reminded my sister that I was the reason her husband got angry at her on their wedding day because I couldn't take a joke, and when I tried to explain why. Edit, I told her if she had focused her speech on the bride and groom, then maybe he wouldn't have had a reason to be angry. She refused to listen and brushed my words off. She said, "Yeah, whatever, sorry." I was glad it was finally over, and as I was about to leave, I heard her say, "Can't take a joke that everyone knows is true." Both of them laughed, but my sister stopped mid-laugh and apologized. I didn't say anything and left. I think I've had enough. I mean, I know I've had a rough few years. I dropped out of college for a while, fine, but I've since gotten my life back on track. My parents helped me through it all and never made me feel like a burden. At first, I was on some strong meds that made me feel tired and sleepy most of the time. After a while, I started to feel a little better with therapy and my family's support. During that period, it was me, my parents, and my brother. My sister was 3 hours away for a job and used to visit sometimes, and would often bring her best friend along with her. Looking back, I don't want to say she hates me, but I know she felt ashamed to have a family member struggling with mental health issues. I don't know how to explain this. I've made up my mind and decided to go no contact for now. If my parents and my brother who were there when I was going through it all never made me feel that they're ashamed of me, then why would she? I'm still on some meds but feel much better than before. I have a stable job, my own place, and friends who love me for who I am. I can say I'm proud of myself a little. I love my family to death and tried to maintain a relationship with my sister all these years, but I'm trying to improve myself, not constantly be reminded of what I was a few years ago. Yeah, totally fair enough as well. I think no contact's probably a good option here. I mean, that apology, if you can call it that, was so backhanded. Neither of them seem remorseful at all for what happened. Let's read some more comments. Quote, for context, when I was 16, something happened and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 and 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair in the back of my head and neck. My sister knows everything. Quote, when I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me towards her with each sentence as if to say, "Do you understand?" or "Okay?" This is more than enough, in my opinion, to just go no contact. She knows about the trauma you went through and blatantly weaponized it against you, and that's just disgusting and cruel. I'm sorry you had to deal with this, OP, and I'm glad you're at a point in life where you can enforce your boundaries and appreciate how far you've come. Future reference, if you ever decide to be around or communicate with your sister, I don't think you should be alone with her. You should be able to have a third party that also knows about your past trauma and boundaries there to act as witness and a mediator if she pulls that kind of crap again. Opie replies, I know, but I don't think I'll be around her anytime soon. I'm still a little shaken by the fact that she knows everything and still grabbed me by the back of my neck to prove her point. Not the a-hole. Your sister has chosen her friend over you. She hasn't apologized. No one is taking accountability that should be. You need to go very low contact or no contact with this sister. Your parents should be covering this and really championing you. God, say that 5 times fast. Maid-of-Honour should be pariahed by the rest of your family. Opie says, I've decided to go no contact. I want to move on from what happened and everything she said to me before. She said a lot of hurtful things in the past, but the way she tried to shut me up by grabbing me by the back of my neck, I just can't get over it. She doesn't love or respect me enough to not use that against me. One comment says, how would the Maid-of-Honour know that this happened to her? Opie said she brought her best friend home when I was still covered in bruises. Of course, I didn't want to see anyone other than my family, but I was in no condition to voice my wants. I'm sure I left my room at least 2 to 3 times and she saw me. Besides, she brought her best friend along when it was better for me to not interact with anyone but family. I'm certain she told her everything. I would tell your family exactly what transpired and send your new brother-in-law a link to these posts. You've overcome so much. Keep moving forward and cut the toxic out of your life. Best wishes and many, many blessings for your future happiness and success. Opie replies, thank you. I'm going to see my parents tomorrow along with my brother. They'll probably ask me how it went, and I'll tell them exactly what happened. Okay folks, let's jump straight to a new update, 3 weeks from the original post. Hey, this happened a few days ago, but it's been a busy week for me, and I was a bit hesitant to update. I went to see my parents with my brother. My dad texted me before to let me know that my sister was coming too. I didn't want to cause any problems between her and my parents by telling them about what she and her best friend did, but when she started the conversation with lies, I told them everything, and made it clear that I'm not asking them to take sides, and that I'll still come to family gatherings, but I won't engage with her in any way. My dad couldn't let the fact that she grabbed me by the back of my neck slide, but my mother tried to make it seem like it was out of desperation, to make me accept her apology. What my sister said next did it for my mum. She asked them, how is anyone still supposed to remember what exactly triggers me after all these years, and that I already gotten over it since I didn't react? And what if I've been faking it all these years? I know I shouldn't have said this and I really regret it now, but I told her I wish she went through exactly what I went through. Maybe then she could give me a better example of how I should have handled it all. She told me to get over it and stop begging magazines to post about what happened at the wedding and left. My dad told me later that her best friend's younger sister read about it in People magazine. It was posted on their Instagram. And, get over it, she's the only one who still brings up what happened. My mother now understands why I decided to go no contact. My dad and brother are 100% supportive of my decision, but I can't stop thinking about what she said. She tried to trigger a reaction out of me and now thinks I've been faking it because I didn't give her one. It's been 11 years. Years of therapy and meds. Of course I've gotten better. Not 100% though, since I felt irritated. And if it wasn't for already being labelled crazy, I would have shoved her away. Okay, Opie adds some comments about what happened all those years ago. Obvious trigger warning here. I feel like I should have cut contact with her the moment she asked my parents why I didn't stay at the party and wait for my brother to come and pick me up. The reason I left the party was because some of the guys who were invited were much older than I was, and they were getting drunk and loud. 2 of them followed me. First thing my sister told my parents was, and still believed, that I left with them because I was naive and just scared and ashamed to admit it, even after both of them confessed everything. But I was young, I guess, and cutting contact with her wasn't something I could do. I also want to mention how supportive my partner has been through all of this. From the day I told him everything, he has been incredibly understanding, even though I never asked him to and he never told me, but I know he still goes through each movie and series before we watch it together to make sure there aren't any scenes that could make me uncomfortable. When I put something on, he finds a way to distract me for a few minutes to check it before we watch. He has never made me feel like a screw-up. He makes me feel like I still deserve to be loved. Thank you to each of you for your kind comments and reaching out in private. Edit, there's something else that happened in the last few days, but I can't mention it. Since they found out I posted on the internet from People Magazine's Instagram, I assume they searched for the original post here on Reddit. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong though. I didn't mention any personal information in my original post or updates. One comment says, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't your sister's new husband upset about the whole thing? Where does he stand? Is he also upset, or is she also lying to him? Sorry if you already mentioned this, and I'm repeating a question. I'm glad you have a strong support system. Nothing you've gone through is anything that you should be ashamed of. Opie says, no, I didn't mention it. Read the edit and you'll understand why it's better not to mention my sister's husband in my update. Thank you. Another downvoted comment says, Opie had reality pointed out to her, and she couldn't handle it because she's embarrassed over her own actions. I have zero sympathy for OP. Opie replies, I'm not embarrassed by my own actions. The only thing I felt ashamed of for a while was dropping out of college to deal with my mental health struggles. And yes, this is the only thing the Maid-Of-Honour knows about me, along with the incident, because my sister thought it was okay to bring her over when I was still bruised. The joke was about that. I assure you I have no failures other than leaving that party. I've already said enough for people who want to get it, and I don't need to mention in every sentence that I'm an SA survivor, because this post isn't about that. Okay folks, and that's all we've got from that one for now. I've got to be honest though, I think I'm left with more questions than answers here. Also, what the hell is People's Magazine doing posting Reddit threads to Instagram? That's so random. Let's read some final comments. I don't get the sister's game here at all. It's almost as if she's turned victim blaming into a performance and is unhappy that it's not getting the positive reaction she expected and so keeps ramping it up. It's a brave strategy, sister. Let's see if it pays off for you. What the F is with news outlets trawling ordinary people's social media for their content? It's one thing when it has a genuine public interest aspect or raises awareness constructively or is uplifting, like pets doing silly things or something. But publishing this in the celebrity weddings section of People magazine? Nope. And yes, celebrity weddings. They literally reported a post about a SA survivor's disgusting sister and her nasty maid-of-honour as celebrity wedding news. A few months after Sis gets the foreseeable divorce, Opie should tell Sis to get over it. It was a long time ago. How else can anyone still remember what happened? Yeah, I mean that'd be one way of getting her back, I guess. Anyway guys, we're going to leave that one there. You know the drill, let me know your thoughts down below. Alrighty, let's move on. Alright, same subreddit. This one was written by user Quiet Satisfaction, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for cutting my dad off if he misses my graduation? So I'm 18 male, and I have a half-brother who is the same age as me. We'll call him Cameron. Our dad got 2 women pregnant around the same time. I'm older by 6 months. My dad chose Cameron's mum over mine, and they're married now. Cameron is his parents' only child. Anyway, so I've always felt like I was just a backup son for my dad. I know he does love me, but not as much as Cameron. I live an hour and a half away from him, but he would always make the drive to come see me when I was younger, and still does to this day. If I ever need anything, he'll make sure I get it. He took me on trips all the time with just me and him, but still, I felt like an outsider. He would constantly put me second to Cameron. If we both had sports games on the same day, he would always go to Cameron's with his wife. Once, when I had an award ceremony, he couldn't come because Cameron was sick. It was just a cold, by the way. When I wanted him to teach me how to drive, he said he couldn't because he promised Cameron he would teach him first, but that he'd help me after Cameron got his license. I could list off a bunch of other examples. My dad would show up to my stuff, but if Cameron had something going on at the same time, he wouldn't come. Cameron and I aren't friends. We get along fine if we're together, but neither of us is going out of the way to talk to the other. I think he's spoiled and obviously our dad's favourite. Our dad and his mum did him no favours because his grades are bad and his life has no direction. He didn't apply to any colleges and he won't even get a part-time job. We're both graduating high school this year. His school district released their graduation schedule after mine, and of course our graduations are on the same day, at the same time. We live an hour and a half apart, so obviously our dad can't make it to both. He's known my graduation date for weeks before Cameron learned his. We already had plans for him to come and spend the day here, but I knew as soon as I saw that schedule, he was gonna flake. At first, he said he wasn't sure what he was going to do. He's been avoiding the topic for weeks, but our graduations are on the 29th, so he has to decide now. Well, yesterday he took me to dinner. He told me that he was going to go to Cameron's graduation. He said it was because Cameron's grandparents weren't going to be able to make it, and Cameron would only have his mum, while I have my mum, stepdad, siblings, and grandparents all coming to mine. I'm not an idiot. It was just an excuse that I knew would be coming. He tried to soften the blow by promising me he'd make up for it by taking me on a graduation trip anywhere I wanted to go, even though he'd already promised me that months ago. He's taking his wife and Cameron on a family trip to Hawaii in June. It's supposed to be Cameron's graduation trip, but he promised he and I would have our own trip. Now all of a sudden that trip is supposed to also be a make-up for missing my graduation. So I told him, okay, I want to go to this one weekend event that is on the same week he's going to Hawaii. He told me he can't because that's when they're going to Hawaii. I didn't actually want to go to this event, I was just proving a point. I told him to postpone his Hawaii trip so he can take me to the event. He said he can't because everything is already paid for and non-refundable. I told him that he's missing my high school graduation. The least he can do is make me the priority when it comes to graduation trips. He said I'd have to pick a different weekend. I told him he doesn't actually care about making it up to me. He's only okay with what I want so long as it doesn't interfere with his real family. He denied it and told me to try to understand the position he's in. I told him straight up that he always chooses Cameron over me. For once, I want to be the first choice, so I said I'll have a ticket ready for him, but that if he doesn't come, I'll know where I stand in his life. I don't care about a make-up trip. Either he shows up and we still have a relationship, or I'm just done with him. He told me that I was being unreasonable, and maybe I am, but I'm still standing my ground. I already know he's not going to come, even after my ultimatum. So, am I the a-hole for throwing away our entire relationship over this? Ah man, that's heartbreaking to read, and obviously he's not throwing the relationship away over this one thing. There's clearly been heaps and heaps of examples that have built up to this. Let's check out some comments. While I don't think you are an a-hole, I do think you're being 18, young and self-centered. Your dad has a wife he needs to prioritize in order to have a peaceful and happy home. His wife would be really ticked if she had to go to graduation alone because her husband is at a graduation with his ex-lover. It sounds like your dad loves you. I suspect your life would be less rewarding with him shut out. Opie replies, I guarantee you that she wouldn't be there alone. My dad is the kind of person who will tell the most obvious lies and really think they sound believable. Cameron's grandparents will be there. One of his aunts who is super family oriented will be there, I'm sure. My dad was just trying to make his decision more understandable. There's a middle ground where you just stop making any effort yourself and let the relationship wither. I've done this with a couple of friends when I realized I was the only one putting effort in. Eventually there was a conversation where they lamented about how we've lost touch and wonder what happened, and the answer I gave was, I stopped calling you. The one about teaching you to drive was the one that stuck out to me since you're 6 months older and naturally will get your driver's license first, but he made you wait. That's the one to throw in his face if you're looking for one. There's no plausible excuse. Opie replies, that was one incident that really ticked me off. A few weeks after he told me that I had to wait on learning, he wanted to pick me up to spend the weekend at his house. I told him no because my stepdad was going to give me driving lessons that weekend. All of a sudden, my dad acted like he was planning on surprising me with lessons if I came. He really thinks I'm that stupid that I can't tell when he's making things up on the spot. And when he did give me a lesson, he brought Cameron, who he could teach literally any other day of the week, with us so he could practice being behind the wheel too. I had my stepdad give me the rest of my lessons and take me to my driving test after that. Not the a-hole. And I'm a petty bee. If I were you, I would take plenty of photos with stepdad and post them on social media with the caption, couldn't ask for a better family. Opie says, maybe I will. My dad gets weirdly jealous and mad when I do anything with my stepdad, but my stepdad is the one who's never made me feel less than my little brother and sister, his kids with my mum. I think you need to drop the step and call him dad. Opie says, we have kind of an odd relationship. I call him by his name when it's just me and him, but in front of my siblings I'll refer to him as Dad. Not directly calling him that, but I'll say like, go ask Dad if he can come to the store with me. It was just easier when my siblings were younger and I didn't want to confuse them. Now they're older and they know that I have a different dad than them, but it's just a habit I still have, I guess. Sometimes I wish he was my bio dad, but I don't know if we'll ever have a super close father and son relationship. Another comment said, I would ask him why does he even pretend to love you? Truly his wife is your stepmother and Cameron is your stepbrother. Why does he not also take you on the family trip since you are family? Or are you not invited because you're not family to him, just a responsibility? Opie replies, he does love me, trust me. I have no problem calling out my dad's many shortcomings, but not loving me isn't one of them. The problem is he loves Cameron a lot more. There's not a single doubt in my mind that he'd give up his life to save mine if he had to, but if he had to choose between saving me or Cameron, I might as well just start calling my family to say my goodbyes. About the trip, I wouldn't go even if he did invite me. Cameron and I can tolerate each other well enough, but I don't want to spend a whole week with him, and I'm sure the feeling is mutual, and my dad's wife likes to pretend I don't exist. If my dad told her about the ultimatum I gave, I'm sure she was celebrating in her head that she won't have me at her house, or have to deal with my dad travelling to visit me anymore. Definitely don't invite him to your college graduation, even if it's clear that you would be the only son he'll get to watch. Cameron will probably get promoted to head cashier somewhere, and he'll have to go to the ceremony, or he'll get another cold. Good luck. Celebrate with your real family. Don't let him ruin your day. Not the a-hole. Stand your ground. Opie says, head cashier? You have more faith in Cameron than I do. He has no interest in college, trade school, or a part-time job. His current plan is to take a few years off, and his parents are apparently in support of that. So if he sticks to his timeline, my dad won't be able to come to my college graduation because they're going out to dinner in celebration of Cameron filling out a job application. I think that gives us a pretty good idea of what Cameron's like. Okay folks, on to an update. Some people wanted an update to my post. My graduation was on Wednesday. Surprising everyone, especially me, my dad actually chose me in my graduation. Not at first, but he did come. So what happened after I gave him the ultimatum was he kept trying to talk to me as if nothing was wrong. He was asking me to spend time with him a lot and asking when I was free, basically either feeling guilty or trying to compensate for choosing Cameron. I never met with him. Cameron messaged me to tell me to stop being an a-hole and to get over it because apparently our dad was stressed out over the whole thing. I just blocked Cameron and moved on. On the day of my graduation, my dad told me he was coming down to spend the day with me before he had to go home to go to Cameron's graduation. At first I told him not to bother because there's no point in showing up here if you're just going to leave before the actual ceremony, but he ended up coming anyway. We had a small get-together at my house with my mum's side of the family. My dad was there acting as if nothing was wrong. It was annoying. I refused to take pictures with him because I told him I'm taking pictures at my graduation. If you want pictures with me, you can show up. A few hours before the ceremony, he said he had to head out. I said goodbye forever, and he pulled me aside to talk. He was trying to justify his decision again. I told him I was serious about what I said. I will not talk to him ever again. I made it clear that this isn't something I'm going to be mad about for a bit and then get over. I'm not going to call him crying in a few years saying I'm sorry. He asked why I was being like this, and I just let it all out. I told him I'm sick and tired of being second place all the time. My entire life I've been told that he can't show up for me because Cameron needs him, or he promised Cameron first. Yet the one time I had my graduation date set and planned first, he still cancels on me for Cameron. I asked him to give me one good reason why he has to go to Cameron's graduation over mine, specifically. No, this is a tough situation, I can't be in two places at once, etc. He said because if he doesn't go to Cameron's graduation, he has to deal with a ticked-off wife and his entire home life will be tense. I asked him why can't his wife and Cameron ever be the ones he apologizes to and asks to try to understand. Why do I always have to be purposefully handed the short straw? He didn't have an answer. I told him I hope Cameron gets his life together because right now he's on a nosedive trajectory that ends with him still living at home rent-free in his 30s with a girlfriend he can't afford to give a ring to, let alone a wedding, and 3 kids who are being raised by my dad's wife. I didn't care anymore at that point. It's true, Cameron's a loser, and I told my dad good luck because he's the one that's taking care of you when you're old. I'm out. I guarantee Cameron takes their money and puts his parents in the absolute cheapest nursing home he can find. They failed him by spoiling him and treating him like he's perpetually 5 years old. Dad still ended up leaving anyway. I refused to hug him and told him I'm done with him. That kind of ruined my mood, But once I got to school and started hanging with my friends, I decided to let it go. I wanted to enjoy my grad night and just forget all the bullcrap. After the ceremony, I was shocked to see my dad walking towards me. I was positive he was going to Cameron's graduation, like gun to my head, get this answer right or you die. Well, I guess I'd be dead because I was 100% sure he'd choose Cameron. He already did, but I guess he turned around and came back. So he hugged me and told me that he's sorry for everything and how he's treated me, and that he does love me just as much as Cameron, even if he's bad at showing it. I don't really believe that last part, but he showed up, so that's what I'm focusing on. Cameron was ticked, of course, and messaged me from a different number to nag at me. He was calling me a crybaby and selfish, saying Dad only went to my graduation because I threw a fit. He doesn't understand that it wasn't me having a tantrum. It was a last straw situation for me. I just sent him a picture of me and our dad at my graduation and told him to get over it. Then I blocked that number too. F him. I'm glad he knows what it's like to be second choice just once. I'm sure our dad is already bending over backwards to make it up to Cameron anyway, so he'll live. Our joint graduation party is going to be awkward, but hopefully we'll just keep our distance from each other. Oh, and don't worry, I'm not delusional. I know my dad is just going to go back to his same old routine, and now if I ever bring up his unfairness again, he'll always be able to throw it in my face that he came to my graduation over Cameron's. It'll probably be his trump card. Not gonna lie, it did feel good to have everyone crap on my dad with me in my last post, because I was ticked off at him when I posted. I know that he does love me though. Still, I think I'm gonna take some advice I got in that post. I'm not cutting my dad off, but I'm gonna stop trying. I have a lifetime of him awarding me the silver medal, no matter how well I do, and I'm tired of it. Cameron can be his favourite son uncontested from now on. I'm just gonna live my life and keep my dad at an arm's length. I'm not going to try to force him to prove his love for me anymore. And some final comments. Info, who is your dad dating first? Because if he was dating his wife and he cheated with your mum, it would explain so much. She probably holds the fact that she forgave him over his head all the time to push him to prioritise her kid. Opie says, I've never asked my dad, but my mum told me her side years ago. She said they broke up right before she found out she was pregnant. But she didn't tell him she was pregnant until she was a few months along. I guess to make sure she didn't miscarry, I think is what she said. She told my dad, but he was already with Cameron's mum by then. I don't think there was any cheating, but they probably wouldn't tell me, even if there was. If I were you, as long as it's Cameron that takes care of him in his old age, then let him. He's probably going to go home and buy Cameron a car as a graduation present to make it up to him. Opie says he already bought Cameron a brand new car for his 16th birthday when I got a used one for mine, but you're right in that he's definitely going to use his money to earn Cameron's forgiveness, probably for his wife's forgiveness too. Several commenters express how proud they are of OP for telling his dad everything he did. Opie says, I honestly thought that was the last conversation I was going to have with him, so I didn't really have anything to lose at that point. I figured I might as well say what I really wanted to say, instead of holding back again. Okay folks, and that's all we've got from that one. Well, I gotta say, I honestly did not expect him to show up to the graduation after all of that. And yeah, I like Opie's mentality here. Even though he did, it's not a fix-all for everything. I mean, what's the bet Dad stuffs up again in the next couple of months? Who knows, maybe even sooner. But yeah, props to Opie for standing his ground here. What are your thoughts? I'd love to know in the comments. Anyway, let's move on to another one. Okay, back on relationships, this one was written by user Putty Trampy, and it's titled, My boyfriend gave a handmade Christmas present to his mother that I made. I make really cool vases as a hobby. These can take weeks to complete and are always made with the giftee in mind. My mum, 50, and I have always been into nature together. We hike, we own animals, we eat outside if we can. I guess being into nature sounds weird. We just like being outside. So I made my mum a Siamese cat urn. It looks like a vase, but the top is the cat's ears. It's super cute, and I loved the way it turned out. No one died or anything, it was just the style of the piece. I'd finished it and taken it to my apartment, wrapped it up, and been so excited about it. Well, my boyfriend's mother came over, and he didn't get her a Christmas and birthday present. She loves cats, so he just gave her the piece I made, which she loved. My boyfriend does not live with me. He has his own apartment near his school. His mother came over before we went over for dinner to see my new kitten. She was in tears over how nice the present was. and I ruined it. I told her that the presents must have gotten mixed up. That was made for my mother. She got a bit upset, gave it back, and then my boyfriend went out to dinner with her. He said it would be best if I didn't come. I guess she cried the whole way, and he didn't have a present for her, so he looked like a bad son. I have trouble seeing where I'm at fault. I understand that the nice thing would have been to remake a gift or let her just have it. However, it was one of my best pieces, and I always give my mother the art I make. She loves it. She shows it off to everyone, and it's something she takes great pride in. She has one from every Christmas, and I never miss a year. She even shows off the crappy lumps I made as a kid. My boyfriend wants to talk tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's going to break up with me or if he wants to yell at me for it. I just need to know what people think. Was I a jerk? Boyfriend seems to think I was. I love this guy very much and really love his mum. She's super sweet and kind and never really gets nice things. I still don't think it's my job to cover for his lack of foresight. Her birthday comes every year on the same day. It's not like it surprised him. I got her a card and a book, which I thought was nice. She thanked me for them later over text, but she seemed really sad about the cat vase. I guess she was hoping I either made her something, or my boyfriend actually got her something she really liked. She loves cats and he's never gotten her anything cat-themed. It is always some cooking supplies or an apron, which means he sucks at presents. So I'm just not sure what to think. Does anyone have an idea what to do in this situation? I don't know, man. Sounds to me like the boyfriend was a bad son. Like he forgot to get her a present and just grabbed the first thing he could at his girlfriend's apartment. I mean, that's pretty scummy. Let's go to the comments. I don't really have advice to give, but I want you to know that I think your actions were quite reasonable. Your boyfriend should not have taken the gift that you'd made specifically for your mother. It sucks that his mother was hurt, but I think if you'd let him get away with it, it would set a bad precedent. Good for you for standing up for yourself. If he decides to break up with you over this, it's due to his own flaws and immaturity. He could have asked you to make something for his mother, or found something that she'd like, and he didn't. Don't apologize for your actions. If anything, he owes you a massive apology for trying to steal your mother's present and making you look like the bad guy to his mother. To be honest, I'd dump him for giving away something that you made for your mum without consulting you and blaming you for the fallout it created. He could have asked you to make one for her. You're not a jerk. He is. You did nothing wrong. You made something that you spent a lot of time and love on for your mother, and if he doesn't understand or respect that, then that's on him. While that sucks for his mum, that isn't your problem. You seem like a compassionate person, which is why you feel bad, but I think your boyfriend was expecting to use that in his favour, which isn't okay. Yeah, 100%. Alrighty guys, on to an update. I want to thank everyone for all the help. A few people advised that I should have just let his mum have the gift. This is not something I was comfortable doing. I don't make art to sell. I make art to give to people who I love very much, so each piece has a lot of love in it. My now ex-boyfriend showed up at around 4 p.m. and wanted to talk at me. He just told me he was disappointed and that he had taken a lot of sweet talking to make his mother understand what happened. He told her I mixed up the packages, but that I had one for her that I just needed to get. I told him I didn't have anything for her and that I was not going to be helping him out. He could go buy one for her and pass it off as handmade, but I was not covering for him. I told him I felt that his behaviour was cruel to me, the effort I put into my art, and my mum, his mum, just everyone. He told me that he expected better. He would not apologise. He just kept getting angrier and angrier. He ended up grabbing a piece I made earlier this year. I was really proud of it. It was a mermaid on a rock. He said he would give this to her and that I could find a new boyfriend. I told him if he left with it, I would call the police. We weren't screaming, but we were both really angry. He slammed it back down on my table. He told me that he never wanted to see me again and I should call him when I grew the frick up. I told him we were over, that he was no longer my boyfriend and I wanted nothing to do with him. I said he could take the clay back if he wanted, but I had already returned his Xbox to the store. He told me to keep the frickin' clay, and he wouldn't have apologised if he knew I wasn't giving him the present. He called me a liar and said I'd ruined his holiday. According to the dribble coming out of his mouth, his mum was really hurt and had left town early. He thought giving her a piece and shifting the blame to me forgetting would make it better. I told him to just leave. So, now I'm single, with a lot of clay and a lightly cracked mermaid statue. I'm not sure how to feel about this, but Dobby is free. Phew, that definitely escalated a lot more than I was expecting, but good riddance, I guess. That guy seemed like a psycho. And not one of those like highly intelligent psychopaths, but like a really stupid one. Anyway guys, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.